Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Shitty Questions podcast. I am your co-host, Unown 47, and today I am joined, as always, with Melissa,
Hello, hello.
and yeah, just hanging out. Um, I'm sipping on, as per usual, but not the last episode, a Miller High Life, um, the champagne of beers. Hopefully, one day we can get a sponsor.
Hey, you know what? One day, next time I go to the store, I'm gonna buy a Miller High Life and then I'm gonna drink it on the podcast and give a whole review because now I'm like, is it really like champagne? We'll see. I
And
have,
that's their logo, but
yeah,
yeah. So,
I got
or
Kool-Aid Jammers Tropical Punch juice pack.
ooh,
It
damn,
was on my fridge and I was drinking beer right now, but I'm feeling like Kool-Aid right now. Feeling like having that sugar rush.
hell yeah. I
Mhm.
remember, like if anybody's ever seen Half Baked, and like the first time they like talk about smoking weed, and the dude like the candy bars are just like huge and ginormous, and then like one of the kids like swimming in like a bucket of soda. Like I remember that being like the shit when I first out started smoking weed. It was
Oh yeah. There's a
fun
place
times.
near my hometown and it's called I don't know if anyone knows if it's called Chiba Hut and everything is like marijuana themed there. So you got like
Right.
they sell like sandwiches wrapped in foil, but the foil's like wrapped like a blunt. And then they also got like a Kool-Aid machine. And that was like my favorite part is I'd get like the special brownies, which is just made with hemp, and a Kool-Aid machine. It was so good. Such a good
Oh
place.
yeah.
Such a good concept.
When do you ever, or I guess not do you ever, but when was when was your first time um
My first
yeah,
time?
with any sort of marijuanas or drugs? I guess that's not caffeine, or I guess alcohol
Hmm.
could be included too, but um
I mean, like, as a Hispanic kid, my first alcohol was probably like when I was 5, when my dad let me take a sip of his beer. But we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the time I allegedly first tried marijuana for the first time. And this was actually something that me and my friends kind of came up with. We're like, hey, we should all try marijuana for the first time together. It'll help build the friendship up better. So we were 16 during that time, and we got some girl to give us some free weed. And then after school, we had a friend that actually lived right next to the high school. So we all just like
not
took a walk there. I told my mom I was doing some club meeting after school, and she was fine with it, didn't question it. So yeah, we went to this house and we were so excited. We thought we were gonna see colors and like some LSD type shit. But all it was some like shitty little Reggie in a tiny little bag. Um,
hot,
and of course, we got a water bottle. When you're a fucking kid, you don't really you can either do the apple or the water bottle.
right, right.
Yeah. So we made the water bottle. Don't even remember how to make those anymore. Yeah, made lit it up and then we all took like a hit or two before it ran out because it wasn't that much. And I remember thinking like, "Oh my God, we're really fucking high. Let's go look at those like what are those called? The little squiggly lines on YouTube.
Um
What are those called? The little art with like the spirals that spin?
yeah, like the illusions.
Yeah. So we put one of those on and then we just sat there and stared at it and we thought we were so cool. Like, I thought I was the coolest kid on the block because I was like, hell yeah, I'm 16 years old and I allegedly smoked weed.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. What about you?
Yeah, I remember, so like I kind of have a first encounter, and then like I don't know. So it was probably around the age, I think I'd have been maybe like 11 or 12. And it was the same friend who I got in a fight with over the Lego from last episode.
Fuck that
Um,
kid.
And his like he knew what weed was. I kind of knew what it was, but I didn't like really know what it was. And I remember one time I was like staying at my mom's because my parents were split up, and he had stayed the night, and they were smoking weed, and he was like, "I smell." He was like, "You smell that?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he was like, "Smells like weed." And I'm like, "What the hell is weed?" And so, anyways, fast forward, and one day I'm hanging out at his house, and he knew that his sister had some weed and knew where it was stashed. It was either his sister's or his mom's. And so he pulls it out. We look at it. And we didn't know what the hell we were doing. We didn't know how to smoke it but I heard like you could eat it. I guess this was before like edibles were like a
Yeah.
thing, but like space brownies and stuff. People, made those. And so we were like, well, you know that you can eat it. So we just like ate a nug. And of course, it was some trash, Reggie. And I don't want to say that like I got high, but I remember like I got really tired and like kind of just zoned out. And he kind of got like really hyper. But I wouldn't say that like after the first time like I smoked marijuana, it wasn't allegedly. Um, it wasn't like the same, I guess. So fast forward a few years, I'm about 13, and had some friends who like had some pot, and they were like, "Oh, hey, we're gonna go smoke it," and they're like, "You want to come?" And I was like, "Shit, yeah, whatever. I'll come try it out." And they had made like they took a toilet paper roll and wasted a bunch of toilet paper, took all the toilet paper off, and it's called like a steamroller. So you know how like a toilet paper roll has two both open ends.
Yeah.
So like they cut a little hole on top and put some tinfoil, poke some holes, and the place where I lived was next to a horse pasture. So we walked to the horse pasture and we go into the woods and like I think it had been like five or six of us and we smoke it and then I just remember being like, damn, like this is fun. And had had some kid and he tried to, I guess, act like he was hallucinating or whatever, and like was trying to like he saw like horse shit on the ground, was like, oh, this is coal,
Oh my
and
god.
um, we're just like, dude, calm down. And then like he picks it up and starts like throwing it at us, and we're like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? And we had Coke machines, and I remember going to down to the Coke machine, and then we were like started freaking out about like smelling like weed. And I was like, well, I have some Axe. And
Of
so like
course.
I walk back to my house and um it's all dark. My dad's like laid up in the recliner watching TV, and I kind of walk in. I was like, I don't think I even said anything. I just kind of walked in and like I try to in hindsight it probably was dumb and he probably would have known, but I try to keep my eyes like or I try to keep my head down so like he wouldn't see my eyes. And like I went and walked, like grabbed some Axe, and then walked back out. And of course, we sprayed our sprayed ourselves down like the shit ton. And of course, we were just smelling like a bunch of Axe. And we didn't have any snacks or anything, but I just remember like laughing at nothing. Like we used to have this
That's
little
always the
gazebo
best.
area, and just yeah, laughing at nothing, cracking up, and it was a good time. It was a good time,
Such a good time, before COVID when you can just get together with your friends and have a good smoke.
right?
The good old times.
Did you ever have any kind of moment where like it got too intense or it was too real for you?
Oh yeah, I did. So, let's see. A few years back, it was like my ex's birthday, and I wanted to get him something special. So I like looked up if I could get an edible cake, which totally is not a thing, at least that I know of. Um, so
Probably nowadays.
yeah, me and a friend like went on a search to go find edibles because I had never tried edibles before then. So I hit up a old friend of mine that used to work with me at the pizza joint because people at pizza shops always know where to find the good stuff.
Right?
Yeah, and so we find this guy. I forgot what was his nickname. He had a funny nickname. No, I can't remember. But anyways, so he gives me this address, and it's like in a super super sketchy area. And then we get off the car, and like the guy opens the door. He looks pretty harmless, but the area still looks sketchy. And
Right.
inside this house, he had a rock collection. Like a massive rock collection. There was crystals and there was amethyst. There was just like you name it. And I remember being excited. I was like, "Oh my god, you collect rocks? Well, I collect rocks too." So he gave me a tour of his house and was showing me his rock collection. And apparently, he's like a wholesale rock person. And he gave me a free rock. He's like, "Yeah, this one is I forgot the name of that rock. Fluoride? It was like some shiny rock." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna
Right.
give this to you because you're my customer and blah blah blah." And I felt really special. And he's like, "Oh, brownies are almost done." And he puts on his mittens, opens up the oven, takes the brownies out, and it's like the whole, what is it, 9 squares of brownies? It was like the whole 9 square
Right.
thing. And he just like wraps it up for me all nicely and hands it to me. And he's like, "Hey, you want to smoke some?" And I was like, "Sure." So me, my friend, and the guy, like, we're just smoking, having a good time. And I went on my way. And I show up back to my place and I tell my ex, like, "Hey, I got you a cool birthday present." He opens it and he's like, "Oh my gosh, you did it." So I was like, "Yeah." And then so we look at it and then he's like, "How much did you pay for this?" I'm like, "That's like $30." He's like, "That's really cheap." I was like, "Yeah, it's probably just like cheap weed anyway, so we probably have to take a lot, since it's cheap and all." And so we each take one. Like I just eat like the whole thing at once. He eats the whole thing at once. And like a few minutes, maybe 10 minutes go by and I'm like, "This fucking weed ain't shit. It doesn't do anything. I don't feel anything." So we just went about our day, hanging out, and at one point me and my friend are just talking on the couch. And then randomly I'm like, I think I'm floating right now." So, so he's just like kind of staring at me and I just like feel my body floating very slowly. And then all of a sudden, he just feels like he's like farther and farther away. And I'm like, "Are you still there? Because I can't hear you." He's like, "Yeah, I'm still here." And then I suddenly, like, I don't know how I got this in my mind, but I'm like, "I've been poisoned. I probably got poisoned." I was like, "Hey, do you think we've been poisoned?" And he's like, "No, no, I don't think we've been poisoned." I'm just sitting there. I'm like, "No, I think we got poisoned." And so I start freaking out and I was like, "Help me." "I've been poisoned." I was like, we need to call my friend and tell him that we got poisoned because I can't hear anything right now. I'm going deaf." He's like, "No, we haven't been poisoned. Just chill out." And then I was like, "Somebody call an ambulance. I think I'm gonna die." So so at one point, I don't know how I make it to the bathroom, but I'm in the bathroom and I start puking everywhere.
Oh no.
And I can't hear my friend. He sounds like really muffled, really far away. And then I start feeling like I'm falling, like I'm just slowly going down and down under the ground. And I'm just like screaming high pitched. Apparently, according to my friends, my eyes were rolled back. So I look like the exorcist, and they took a video of me and laughed about it afterwards. But yeah, during that time,
Oh
I was
shit.
screaming and I was like, "Where the fuck is everyone? Why is everything going dark? Why does everything sound far away? And why is nobody calling a goddamn ambulance?" So yeah, and so I'm puking. Eventually they got me like to the bed and it was like to the point where like nobody could even touch me because if like you even touched me a little bit, I would start screaming because I felt like I would just fall further into the ground every time I got touched.
Jeez.
I was that fucked up. So they got me to calm down. Eventually I passed out And I woke up the next day and I was still high. So I
Yeah.
was like, fuck, how the fuck am I still high? And I realized that I had school that day and I was fucking paranoid as shit. I didn't go to school. Then I hid in my room, like under the blankets for the rest of the day because I was like really fucking paranoid. And I swear to God, it felt like I was high for like several days. I don't know what this guy put in this, but it was some good shit. But too good.
Damn.
Too good. But yeah, that's my first edible story, and after that, I don't do edibles anymore just because I'm terrified that's gonna happen again.
Yeah. That's fair. If you do it in smaller doses, it should be a lot better.
Why do you think that
Um,
happened though? I thought it was cheap weed.
Under expectation, and so they say like when you smoke weed, you can't overdose, but when
That's
you
what I was
ingest it,
thinking.
you kind of can, because it's like a whole bunch going into your body at once. Whereas like smoking, so it's harder to gauge with doing edibles, because when you smoke, it goes into your lungs, in like directly into your lungs, which goes straight to your brain. Within a matter of a minute, you start feeling, so you can start to judge um, how much more you want to smoke or not. But when you
Yeah.
do edibles, it takes like 30 minutes or an hour to kick in. And if you've done a whole lot, it's all going to hit you at once. Because I think THC is classified as a minor hallucinogen,
Yeah.
like nothing crazy, but I guess in like a high enough dosage, it could cause, I guess, audio hallucinations and like blood pressure issues.
Okay.
I think when THC enters your bloodstream, it raises your blood pressure. I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong. Take everything I say with a grain of salt, listeners. Um,
Okay, wait, I
I
have
am
a
not.
question. So I knew it felt like I was like falling in a hole. It literally felt like I was dying. Like if dying were a thing, well, dying is a thing. If I were to die, I feel like it'd kind of go that way. But my question is, see, now I forgot. Maybe I'm fucking high right now. No, 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 wait.
All
I,
right, now
I
let
had
me-
a question, and I'm gonna say my question. Oh yeah, my friend told me that the reason why that happened was because I wasn't in the right headspace, because apparently he didn't trip out like that. So,
that too.
is that correct?
Yeah, that can happen too. And it's more not visible. I guess it's more visible in people who do LSD
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. Um, the trigger range is higher, and if you don't have the right headspace for LSD, you can have a bad trip. So yeah, could have been something similar to that. Like if you weren't, because I can
Yeah.
attest to like that same feeling as like you've never been this high before, so you don't know how to handle it. So you're not sure if like that's why some people think that they've taken other drugs instead of marijuana, but instead they just got like really, really high. Um,
Okay. And
like
then, sorry.
no, go
Uh,
ahead.
so keeping that in mind, and I think it's just because I'm an anxious person, would someone like me have that same effect if I were to try like LSD or shrooms? Because I want to try it out, but I'm scared that maybe I'm just too anxious to be trying any of these things.
Um, I would say shrooms, and you could do it in a small amount.
Yeah.
Um, because like doing shrooms is like to me it was like a funnier high if we like I still felt like really, really high. And I guess as long as you keep yourself grounded in reality, you can really start to enjoy it, if that
Okay.
makes sense.
Yeah, it's
Um,
I'm just scared it will happen again. But when you say
d-
grounded to reality, how do you handle that?
just knowing that you're not gonna die. Chan chances are that it's really not as bad as you think it is. Having, yeah, multiple experiences like that, I've just like focused. I would put focus onto like my surroundings and knowing that like I'm sitting in a room, and that I'm high on mushrooms. Um, and typically, once you can get past like the anxiety of it, and you kind of start to gain control of the situation, then you can start to enjoy yourself. But getting over the anxiety part is knowing that, um, you, especially if you don't do like a high dose, if you do a low dose, it shouldn't be as bad. Um, yeah, something similar to that nature. Um,
Cool. Thanks for your
yeah.
expert advice here. I always like never, I don't know. I was always trying to get some like kind of advice of what the hell happened that day, but I guess that makes sense.
So I remember the first time I smoked like really, really good, like really good weed. And we used to meet, um, the bus, we used to walk outside of our trailer park to catch the bus to go to school. And on our way out, we would like stop by this gazebo and smoke. And oh no, this was before that. This was before the bus driver got kicked out at the trailer park. It's a bunch of dumb shit. But yeah, we were standing out front of my friend's trailer and like we smoked a joint and he like, oh no, we smoked a joint before we left. That's what happened. Yeah, so we smoked a joint and then we walked outside the trailer park and went and caught the bus. And then by the time I got on the bus, it like started setting in and everything felt like a dream. Um,
That's how you know you're really high.
and I was in high school. Yeah, and I think I was either a freshman. Yeah, I was either a freshman or sophomore because I had a friend who was supposed to be in the same grade as me, but he was still in middle school. Um, but yeah, I just remember like I sat in the very back of the bus, and if I looked out like the normal like window to the left or to the right, like I kind of got like woozy and things just kind of didn't feel real. So I had to like sit on the outside of the seat closer to the row, and then I just looked out the back of the bus, um, and just like watched the road and like kept like reminding myself I was just like, this is you're just really high right now. Everything's gonna be fine.
Oh God.
And like if I looked out the side windows, I would get like nauseous again. And then once I got over the anxiety of it, like everything just started being hilarious. But I remember my friend, he had to sit at the front of the bus because he'd gotten in trouble. So the bus driver made him sit at the front. And he was in middle school. We're the same age, but he's sitting around a bunch of like little kids.
Oh
And,
no.
little kids sit at the front, so on and so forth. And like we're getting off the bus. And I was like, hey man, I was like, does everything feel like a dream to you? And he was like, I know, man. Like he was like whispering. He was like, this shit's fucking crazy. He was like, these kids are like right behind me, but I swear to God, they're like 30 feet away from me. And
The hearing thing again.
and like I think because I had to get off the bus to catch a shuttle bus to take me to the high school. And like I got on the next bus and I think I had my like CD Walkman and I just like put on my headphones and like listened to Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon and like rode the bus all the way to high school.
The shit you do
Interesting
instead
time.
of like, going to school, getting an education. No, let's just get fucking high right before school.
Yep. Yeah, I've had a lot of like way too high moments, and I guess it's just how you handle them. And like that might be my downfall, because if I ever have a heart attack, I'm gonna be like, oh no, I'm probably just fine, and then be like, nope, it's actually a heart attack.
You're just enjoying the heart attack, sitting there like, This is some good fucking shit right here.
Because like sometimes in the past, like like my heart rate would jump, and then I'm like, okay, like am I actually having a heart attack, or like am I just like really high? Crazy stuff. But
Yeah.
digress. But do you know what time it is?
Time to roll another blunt.
Yes. Like pick out the seeds and stems because it's time for the shitty questions
Questions
generator.
podcast generator. Why do I keep saying shitty questions podcast? Shitty questions generator. Yes. What question do you have? Let's roll the dice
Okay.
here.
Um, what is the most selfish thing that you do that you are okay with?
Mm. Mm-mm-mm. Shitty most selfish thing that I do. Wait, what was the second part of that?
The most selfish thing that you do that you are okay with.
Damn, that's a.
Hmm.
It's because I've reached a point in life where I don't think I'm being selfish. I think I'm just doing self-care. I guess that's the way I justify it now.
Quote unquote self-care.
You go first, because
Yeah,
if you have one.
right. Well, usually I preemptively like have these answers ready, but I went off the bat with this one. The most selfish thing that I do, probably probably smoke weed. Like I, growing up, it was all about sharing the love and smoking weed with your homies and blah blah blah. And like now that I'm older and that I still smoke weed, I have it more as a set amount. Like, it's like I've got this much. I know how long it's going to last me as long as I do it like this every day and I'll be fine. And whereas in the past, it was like, yeah, man, I got some weed. Let's like roll up a joint and get high. Whereas like now I'm quote unquote more sophisticated. I have a little vape. It takes a little bit of weed to like maximize my high, and I can come home from work and I can smoke and I'll be fine. Every now and then, my friend will be like, "Hey, you want to smoke a joint?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll throw up a little bit on that." But well, sometimes, and then sometimes he'll just be like, "You want to put up on a joint?" And I'm like, "Not really." Like, I could just load some of this weed up in my vape and be just as high. But I know for him, it's like the
Allegedly.
experience, allegedly, it's the experience of sharing with your friend. Um, but I'm okay with it. Like, I'm okay with being stingy with my weed.
Honestly, though, see, that sounds like self care to me also. Maybe I'm just a selfish bitch, but like, that sounds like self care. Like, you know, look it out for yourself first before others. I guess that just kind of comes with age. For
Right? Treat
me,
yourself.
yeah. So for me, I guess I don't even know if I'd consider this selfish, but ever since I got my new house, I don't like when people come over anymore. Like I genuinely enjoy being by myself because when people come over, they eat your food, you got to clean up after
Yep.
them, you got to be a host
Yep.
essentially. And I enjoy my times alone. Like I like make cleaning up after myself and eating my own food and not having to share and just having me time. But like again, I
To
feel like that's self-care.
to refer back to episode 9, um, is this what being an adult is like?
What
We're
episode?
boomers? Are we
Yeah, no.
boomers?
I kind of get why like old people are like cranky and they don't like noise and other people around. I finally get it because it's nice. It's called self-care. When you're younger, I guess maybe you want to
Well,
please other people.
right, right. Yeah, we're taught, or maybe not exactly taught, but we're given the perception to like please people and like that's the way to go. When in reality, it's like, man, fuck them kids. Like they can go a day without pizza.
Fuck them kids. I mean, where does that come from though? Like, when you're younger, it is true. Like you want to please your friends, you want to please your parents. But then as you get older, you're just like, fuck everyone. Like I'm going to watch over myself first.
Yeah, I guess that's what it boils down to is like you realize that you can't please everybody all the time. And it's more important to take care of yourself than it is to try and please others.
Is
Make
this
sure
why
you're
boomers
happy.
are like that?
Maybe,
Like how did we say boomers are like the most selfish generation? Is that
right?
where we're
Well,
heading?
oh no, history repeats itself.
It really does though. We're going to end up being that cranky generation that doesn't like people. But like slightly more progressive, obviously.
Damn, that's wild. Well, that with that being said, I'll have some I forget what it's called. Damn, I wish I could remember the word.
You high right now?
Maybe.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. I have some thinking to do after we end this episode about existential. That's it. Have a little bit of existentialism about am I actually getting old? Am I turning into the parents?
Yeah,
And
gotta have that self awareness.
with that, thanks everybody. If
Thank
you're
you.
still listening at this point, we appreciate it. Um, Hopefully, the new coat of paint is all up to date and settled. Um, if it isn't already added by this episode, we might have a little animation for you guys, making things a
Gasp.
little fancy. But yeah, don't forget to leave us a like, comment, subscribe. And with that,
Goodbye.
goodbye.